Hello and congrats, we're back with some more Buffalo Sabres franchise mode in FHM 12. And in this one, we have the offseason of year number 6 heading into year number 7. We, of course, are coming off of our Stanley Cup victory for the second time in 4 seasons, I believe it is. Yes, indeed. So we're looking good. We're looking good for the most part. However, this is going to be an interesting offseason because we have a couple of big contracts coming up next offseason in Devin Levi and Rasmus Dahlin. And then, of course, there's also Ryan McLeod. There's Zach Benson. There's Costa Helenius. That is a lot of key players there that are expiring this upcoming season. So we may want to consider doing something about it this offseason, depending on what these guys want. So I guess the first order of business is to see what all these guys want on their contracts. Oh boy. So Levi wants $11.1 million for 7 years and a no movement clause. Oh boy. He's currently making 4.3. So that's a huge increase. What about Dahlin? So Dahlin is currently making 11 million. Now, what's he going to want on his extension? 12.5 for 7 years and a no movement clause. Whoa, this is going to be a lot. What about Helenius? So Helenius is making 2.6 currently. I got to imagine it's at least 6 mil. 5.3 for 3 years. Okay, that's not as bad as I thought, but still a sizable increase. Then what about McLeod? So McLeod is making 5.9 currently. God, I think he's going to want at least 7 mil. Yep, 7.4 for 3 years. So Benson wants 5.6 for 3 years. He's currently making 4.4, I believe I saw. Yeah, 4.45 for one more season. So that is a lot of additional cap that we're going to be taking on if we sign all those guys. And frankly, I don't think we're going to be able to because we only have $5 million in cap left currently. So we may have to make some difficult decisions here. Scott Morrow is also expiring. He's currently making 4.4 for 1 year. How much does he want? 5.5 effectively for 3 years. And then you have Berjazkin as well. He wants 2.1. He's currently making 1.3. And then Eklund Asp as well. He wants 1.5. All right, so that's good for him. Yeah, that's going to be a lot of cap that is going to be taken up by these players, especially Levi. Going to be making an additional, 7 mil from what he's currently making. I mean, Levi, statistically, he deserves it. I think he deserves his contract extension. During the regular season, he's never had any less than a .905 save percentage. And then during the playoffs, of course, he's a little bit shaky there, but he did have a .923 this past playoffs, which did win us the Stanley Cup. So it's a difficult decision. And then you have Dahlin as well, who, he's 31 now, also asking for 7 years, 12.5 with a no movement clause. I might be able to get that down to, let's say 11.5, right? Take him down $1 million, but even still, that's a lot. We unfortunately may need to make some difficult decisions this year. That's what it's looking like. Because this is not favorable for the salary cap. It's in fact looking like we're going to be way over. Now, something I did between videos is I approached Rihards Griva with an offer. He's currently in our systems, 24 years of age. He's been playing in Rochester for the past 2 years. I figured I'd give him a chance. He's at the 2.5-star ability. He might make some good depth, and we're probably going to need that depth too, just given the situation we're in with the salary cap. So I'm not sure, like I said, I'm not sure what the move is right now, but it's going to have to be something. Someone's going to have to be moved out here. I'm considering potentially moving on from Byram. Obviously, we signed him to a contract extension last year. It was 5 years at the time, and he did well. He did well last season, 50 points in 70 games played, 68 grade. Then during the playoffs, he had 7 points in 14 games last year. Given his age, at 30 years of age, 3-star ability, making 8 mil, over 8 mil for the next 4 years. I think he's probably going to have to be one of the ones who moves out, unfortunately. I mean, honestly, I would love to keep him. Byram's a great player, but the problem is we have too many good players at this point. We're getting to that point where all these players are starting to cost too much collectively. So we're going to have to make some difficult decisions here. Possibly we could get something back from McLeod. I really like Ryan McLeod, though, as a player. He's got that good checking and positioning rating. His physical ratings are good. Yeah, this is going to be a tough decision. And honestly, the main decision is, do you give Levi that much of a raise for what he's done? I mean, like I said, he deserves an extension for sure, but I don't know about 11 mil for 7 years with a no movement clause. I'm still a little bit wary of long-term extensions for goaltenders with that that much money involved due to a certain goaltender in the New York series back in FHM 11. Then again, Levi's proven himself to be a consistent simulator, right? At least during the regular season, whereas Shesterkin wasn't. But, I'm still a little wary. And honestly, I'm hesitant to trade someone like Thompson because I think, honestly, Thompson, at this point, I think he deserves to retire as a Buffalo Sabre because he's won 2 Stanley Cups with us. He has been a prominent goal scorer for a very long time for this team, for the entirety of this GM mode, and before that, obviously, as well. So I'm not sure if I want to trade Thompson at this point, but we may honestly have to if it comes down to it with the salary cap. But I really do not want to trade Thompson if we can avoid it. Because like I said, I think he deserves to retire a Buffalo Sabre. But then if you don't move out Thompson, then who else do you move out, And we're probably gonna need to move out a sizable amount of money. I think it's gonna be Byram. I'm thinking it's gonna have to be Byram, unfortunately. Like I said, I like him as a player, but he's just making a lot of money, and I'm just not sure if we can afford that at this point. All right, you know what? Let's take a look at the draft, see who's available. Maybe there's somebody worth trading up for here. You have Cameron Combe, who is ranked as the first overall pick, at least as far as potential goes. He's a 4-star potential. And then after that, you have, 4 goaltenders in the top 5. That's lovely. Good to know this issue is still a thing. So then after all the goaltenders, you have Jason Stewart as the second-ranked center. 3-star potential, 4-star consensus potential. Passing's at 17. Then you have some more goaltenders and Einery and Steinberg. Yeah, there's a lot of goaltenders in this draft. Honestly, I'm not sure if there's really anybody worth trading up for here. I think what we'll do for right now is we'll hold on to this core the way it is. But we're going to, as we approach the trade deadline, we're seriously going to have to consider moving at least one guy of significance out. And whether that's Byram or maybe Ufko, maybe McLeod, maybe Thompson if it comes down to it. But like I said, I really do not want to trade Thompson at this point, considering how much he's done for this franchise. Yeah, this is going to be tough. This is going to be a difficult season ahead, at least as far as, making decisions goes. But you know what? These are exactly the kind of decisions that the GMs are paid the big bucks for, right? So I think, like I said, for now, we'll leave things as they are, but we're seriously going to have to consider moving somebody out as we approach the trade deadline. So with that said, I don't think there's anything I want to do in free agency, just considering our situation. I mean, we could always try to sign somebody for 1 year, but I think I would rather have a little bit of wiggle room as far as the cap is concerned going into the trade deadline, just so that we're not, struggling to make moves if we have to, and we most likely will have to. So I think I would rather hold on to the remaining cap space that we have and use it as, a little bit of wiggle room heading into the trade deadline. So I think we're going to skip the free agency period entirely, and we're going to head into the draft order announcement on July 5th. All right, here we are at the draft lottery, so let's see what the order is. At number 16, you have Carolina, followed by the Islanders, Columbus, St. Louis, San Jose, Dallas, Vancouver, LA, the Rangers, Utah, Columbus, Calgary, Boston. At number 3, you have Calgary again. At number 2 is Toronto. At number 1, the Colorado Avalanche. We have a trade proposal from Seattle. I have Bowen Byram on the trade block right now just to see what we can get for him. And they're offering a 2nd-round pick for this year's draft. I don't think so. I'm looking for a little bit more than that. All right, so we're at the draft now, and I think we could just advance to our first pick because, like I said, there's really nobody here who I'm interested in trading up for. And the only 3-star potential available is a goaltender, Shabad Deep Merul, who he has the 2-star consensus potential, so not really sure about him. I mean, I guess you can never go wrong with a goaltender prospect, right? Especially in this game, but we'll take a look at some of the skaters here, do due diligence. So you have Hector Rivera. It seems like a lot of these players are going to be projects. Okay, so I found someone of interest here. You have Tom Osborne, who's currently a 1-star ability, 2-star potential. He has a 2.5-star consensus potential. Passing's already at 17, screening's at 14, so he looks to be a defensive forward type, grinder type player. Agitator is at 17. He's got aggression at 17. Hitting's at 16. So I think at the very least, he could potentially make a solid 4th line player. He's projected to be picked at number 12, so, He's way past the point where he was supposed to be picked, at least according to the mock draft, which again I take with a grain of salt, but still it's worth considering. Though it is worth noting he does have the AD scouting grade. He also does not accept change well at all, but he does handle criticism in a constructive manner and he gets along well with everyone. So I don't think he's going to be causing any locker room issues, but he's an interesting player. And I think just given his current ratings, he might be worth taking a gamble on. So I'm going to keep an eye on him for sure, but I'm not entirely sure if he's definitely the pick. You also have Jeff Van Heerd here. He's got a 17 faceoffs, decent offensive category, 16 acceleration. He's apparently already a 1.5 star ability. Big game performer like that. I'll keep an eye on him for sure. Oh, okay, this guy's interesting. Elias Brunner, 1-star ability, 2-star potential winger. He already has, frankly, a great offensive category for a 1-star ability. 18 puck handling, 16 passing, 17 offensive read, 14 getting open. I mean, that's almost NHL ready already. Like that may even be NHL ready at this point, even for a 1-star ability. And then defensively, defensive reads at 15. Then you have stick checking at 17, positioning at 14. I really like the look of Elias Brunner, at least as far as his offensive and defensive ratings go. Physically, he's serviceable, I would say. Not great. Most of his ratings are 12 or 13 for the physical category, strength's at 11. So that's probably what I would imagine is bringing him down, right? But then the mental category even is decent. You know, temperament's at 20, professionalism is at 16, determination and team player at 13. So I think Elias Brunner might be worth taking a gamble. I mean, it's if he could just improve that physical category, and just spend all of his time basically focusing on that physical category. If he can improve that to the extent where he's up to, you know, a 2-star ability and his physical ratings are up to say 14, 15, then I think Elias Brunner would make a great pick here. Let's take a look at his scouting page. So strongest part of his game is his playmaking ability. Pretty good ability to read the play. Coaches say he's dependable in practice, like that. Weakest part of his game is his physical play, and he gets injured a little bit more often than you like. And then personality-wise, very sportsmanlike, very high on IQ test, doesn't like criticism and get him down. I like Elias Brunner here. And I think in terms of his technical abilities, he has a lot of good going for him. You know, he's got the offensive category already way up there. Defensive ratings seem like they're in a good spot. If he could just improve those physical ratings a little bit more, get them at, like I said, 14, 15, he would be, I think he would be a gem. So of the 3 players that we have listed here on our draft list, I mean, I think it's got to be Brunner. Like 17 offensive read compared to 14 for these two, 18 puck handling compared to 15 and 14, and getting open of 14 compared to 13 and 11. And then defensively as well, I mean, he's not going to be the hitter that Osborne is. He's not the face-off taker that Van Heerd is. Obviously, Van Heerd is the center and Brunner's a winger, but he has the 17 stick checking. He has got that 15 defensive read. I really like Brunner. I really like Brunner here. So I think we'll be taking him with this pick. So welcome to the Buffalo Sabres, Elias Brunner. So now let's simulate up to our next pick and see if either of these two are still available for us. Okay, so Van Heerd is still available. It looks like the grinder Tom Osborne was taken. Yeah, he was taken at number 38. He went to Calgary. Let's take a look at Van Heerd again. I mean, he's got the big game performer. He's very high on IQ test. He may ask for a little bit more in contract negotiations than others, but he's still got some decent upside. So I think I would like to take Van Heerd with this pick, and I think that's exactly what we're going to do. Jeff Van Heerd, welcome to the Buffalo Sabres. All right, we're up to pick number 96 now. There's 1 2.5-star potential left, and Tomas Kadlec, and he doesn't look too bad. He's got the 16 determination. Physical ratings are, I guess, decent. I mean, obviously, for this point in the draft, you're not going to be having anybody who's going to be too outstanding, right? But most of his ratings are at least in a decent position, I would say. Okay, never mind. So he's got the controversy will follow trait, and he also seems to disappear when the game is on the line. Yeah, I'll pass. And honestly, I think at this point, I'm just gonna probably just simulate the rest of the draft, even though we're only in the 3rd round, but there's really not much here that looks appealing. Yeah, I'm going to have the CPU finish the draft. And inducted to the Hockey Hall of Fame this year are Jaromir Jagr, Alex Ovechkin, Shea Weber, and Sergei Bobrovsky. What a class. All right, so we're on September 21st, the end of the preseason. Let's take a look at our roster heading into year number 7. In goal, for the time being at least, we have Levi and Leenders. We'll see what happens with the contract situation. On defense, you have Dahlin, Byram, Morrow, Elofsson, Faber, Ufko, and Mertka. And at forward, you have McKenna, Thompson, Ostlund, Stenberg, Benson, Aram Olsen, Beryazkin, McLeod, Pedersen, Nuchev, Griva, Eklund Asp, Misek, and Wahlberg. And then injured, you have Riker Evans, who is still recovering from a major injury he suffered back in April. And then you also have Konsta Helenius, who is injured for the next 2 to 3 weeks. So that is our roster to start things out for year number 7. But as we, like I said, as we head towards the trade deadline, it may start to look a little bit different around here. So with that said, I think one thing is off here, but not before I thank the channel members. Thank you guys so much for all your support, and I'll see you guys in the next one when we start the year 7 simulation.